Hey, okay. I wanted to give you a follow-up and let you know what's going on. But I wanted to do that after I talked to the doctors. I had my two follow-ups today. So, yeah. First of all, thank you so much for the kind words. There were those of you that told me your stories. I really appreciate you opening up and telling me about your experience with this. And because it was a scary thing for me, and it looks like it's not fun. It's not a fun thing at all. So I really do appreciate you telling me your experience with this. And so I'm going to tell you my experience with it. And I was going to anyway, and but I wanted to make sure I had my follow-up first. And um, basically, when I went into the ER, the the surgeon talked to my mom and said that this went as far back as the beginning of May, so we're going to go back in time. Um, so at the beginning of the month, I was dealing with that time of the month, ladies' time. And also, my brother was getting married. He got married on May 4th. And unfortunately, I didn't get to go because of what was happening. I thought that it was just, you know, I'm sure that every woman can say that there's always going to be that one time of the month that is odd. I've had a few, and this just felt like another one. I came out of my room and I was kind of doubled over and kind of hunched over, and I was holding my stomach. And my parents tell me that I was very, very pale. And my dad took one look at me and said, "You're not going." And so I texted my brother and told him what was going on. At that point, we still thought that it was just dealing with that time of the month. And because this is the thing, is that also menstruation and epilepsy, I mean, menstruation can trigger a seizure. So when it first hits, we are very careful. And so even with it being so odd and considering how I looked and everything, we just decided, let me sleep it off and go from there. Now, again, the surgeon, when he heard this, what had happened, he said that had to be when my appendix was hot, when it was bubbling and everything. And now nothing really happened. I mean, I wasn't really in a lot of pain after that. My monthly went, it came and went, and the pain had kind of gone away. And then I had an episode the next weekend. I've had those episodes before, usually during that time of the month where I have back pain and my leg goes numb and everything. Again, it's that kind of thing where you monitor. I'm so used to it that it's kind of like, but because it didn't happen during my monthly, I thought, is my am I gonna have another? Because I have had that before where the monthly comes back. And I'm sure other women have had this happen too, where you have your monthly, and then like a week passes, and then it comes, yeah. And women's bodies can be tricky sometimes. There's also instances where you have a 2 week to 3 week period. And but anyway, so I had this episode and I thought, okay, I've had this happen before, but the problem was that the pain was not going away. It just kind of stayed. And I mentioned that to mom, and she's like, "Well, we'll monitor it, and if it gets worse, we're gonna may have to take you to the hospital." This is a problem. And you know me by now. I am very stubborn. And I was like, "No, I'm sure it'll pass. I'm sure it'll be okay." So by Thursday, I think that was Sunday when the episode was. It was either late Saturday or it was during Sunday that it happened. And by Thursday, I thought that I had like this raging UTI. And so, I mean, I'm laying here on the bed just writhing in pain. And so mom went and got some cranberry juice. I was drinking the cranberry juice. Unfortunately, it came up. So I wasn't keeping anything down. And I went into the bathroom. I mean, like, there was at one point, it was about 4 in the morning. I'm drenched in sweat, and I felt like there were daggers in my pelvic area. I go into the bathroom and I'm trying to use a bathroom. I can't. I'm on the floor crying because it just hurts so much. And I'm crawling out of the bathroom. And now, in my mind, I remember crying and screaming because it hurt so bad. But apparently, I was not screaming. Um, both my parents said, because out in the hallway, um, the bathroom is at the end of the hallway, and then right next to it is my parents' room. And I was on the floor on my back, just crying and sobbing. And my mom heard it. She woke up and she heard it. And she she told me you weren't screaming, but and I believe her. It was just because pain was just so excruciating that um you know, in my mind, I really did think that I was screaming, and but we were on the same page how I was sobbing. And she wakes up my dad. My dad takes one look at me and he says, because she told me we need to call the paramedics because she started to help me up off the floor and I couldn't do it. I mean, I was in so much pain. It hurt so bad. I couldn't get up. She barely touched my side and I yelped. And she said, we're calling the oh, excuse me. She says, we're calling the paramedics. And and I said, no, we don't need to do that. Because in my mind, still, it was just a UTI. It was just a raging UTI. It wasn't anything else. And she wakes up my dad. My dad comes out and he's seeing me again, drenched in sweat, crying on the floor. And he says, "We're calling the paramedics." And I was like, "Okay." And the paramedics came and they were able to get me off the floor and got me on a gurney. And we went to the ER. And this is the surprising thing about it is that the gentleman who was working with me and talking with me in the ambulance, he called me in and he then, he was talking to somebody uh, on the whatever. And he then looked at me and he says, "Craziest thing, they have a room already open for you." He says, "Usually we have to wait." And he says, "This is perfect." And I was like, I mean, like I was in so much pain, but looking back, it's like I'm so glad they had a room. So not only did they have a room, okay, now again, we got there, we still didn't know exactly what was going on. It wasn't until um I got uh I think it was the CAT scan. Yeah, I think it was a CAT scan. So we went in, got the CAT scan, and I mean everything was going easy breezy. So we get the CAT scan done. And the doctor comes in and says, "Your appendix ruptured." I'm like, "Get it out." I mean, like my brain shifted so fast because again, I thought it was a UTI. And um it was as soon as he said it was a ruptured appendix, I was like, "Yeah." And he says, "We're you're gonna go in for surgery." And I'm like, "Okay." They had a room ready. I mean, the fact that they had already had a room in the ER, they had a room ready, and there was a surgeon there, and it was like one thing after another. Just um, I consider myself very lucky, and because I have a cousin who is a male nurse, and when he was talking to my mom, because my mom was making sure everybody knew, and he said that if it had been 2 more hours, considering how severe this was, I would have lost my life. I'm just, when she told me that, I was like, "Oh gosh, can you imagine waiting for a room?" And oh man. So I just consider myself lucky that night. And but the funny thing about it is that when I was done with the surgery and everything, um it reminded me of the surgery that I had on my foot when I was 4 years old because I I remember that surgery clear as a bell because um they wheeled me in and they laid me down and put the mask on that had the anesthesia and everything. And they said, "Now count to 10." I didn't even make it to 8 before I was out. And then the next thing I remember is this nurse showing me my wrapped up foot. And in this instance, it was a lot like it was pretty much the same thing. I mean, they had hyped me up on medication and they wheel me into the room and uh I remember saying, "Yeah, they gave me the good stuff." Everybody's laughing. I don't even remember laying my head down on the pillow. The next thing I remember is waking up. And so, yeah. it, and but I do remember the surgeon coming in and he was explaining everything to me, and he was saying that because of how severe it had become, my kidneys were in danger. But once the surgery was done, my kidneys were in the safe zone, basically. And so, my parents and I have looked back on this and like, why wait? But we didn't know, and so a lot of questions, like why didn't we go when this book, we thought that it was my monthly. Why not then? Well, I had had those attacks before, it was a lot of a lot of why, well, but fortunately, I came out of it. Little worse for wear, but I came out of it. I have a friend, she's a childhood friend, and she checked up on me and she says, "You need to stop living a thrilling life." And I said, "I would love to." I would, I would absolutely love to do that because this one was probably the most daredevil thing I've ever done without meaning to. But yeah, and so I'm still patched up. And so yeah, at the hospital, I mean, they put me this is this is the thing about it. At the hospital, I mean, they were really nice at the hospital. They really were. But they put me on a liquid diet and they kept asking me, because this is the thing that they have to ask is they kept asking me if I had pooped, and because they're trying to get your digestive system back on track after dealing with something like this. And so they asked me if I pooped and that kind of thing. And it's like you do realize that I need actual food, not the liquid. So they put me on a clear liquid for like 2 days and then a full liquid and then the general. It messed up my insides, man. It really did. I came home and the first thing I wanted was like an egg and toast. And I ended up having an accident. I felt so bad. So we had to slowly introduce my digestive system to food again because of what they did. The one thing I will say, I've never had a problem with the medical field, never have. And I have a lot of friends who are in the medical field. And again, like I said, my cousin is in the medical field. But I feel like I wasn't listened to because I would say that I'm not in any pain and they would want to give me painkillers. And I'm like, I don't need it. Stop. And I know that they were trying to help. I understand that, and now a lot of the other things, the antibiotics, I totally understand because after dealing with something like that, they got to pump the antibiotics. I have a certain level, there's certain levels that you have, like iron levels and all that stuff. Well, my potassium level is all kinds of screwed up. And I tried telling them, I was like, you got to talk to my neurologist because we have tried everything under the sun to get. They were like, it was like they weren't listening to me. I don't know, but it was just like they were making me sick trying to get that potassium level. I mean, A for effort for getting it up to where it needed to be. but in the process, they were making me very sick. And I did not, I did not like that. And I mean, yeah. So but I got to take okay, so before I get ahead of myself, like I'm known to do. So I went in for my follow-up today. I have been home for a week and a day. And now when I came home, I was very unstable, so I had to use a walker. I'm not using the walker anymore, but I'm still moving slow. My digestive system is doing very well. I mean, like on Memorial Day, we had barbecue and I ate the entire burger and it seemed fine. I was a little leery of introducing cheese to my diet, but everything seemed fine. So, we're getting there. Yeah, I'm really concerned about certain spices. And so my family and I are, and I feel really bad because I feel like I am um, holding back my family with this whole thing, but they seem really understanding and everything. And so, um, because, well, like my dad said, my dad and I were talking, and he says, I don't think you should worry about it because we almost lost you. Okay, that just don't worry about it. Like, okay. And so the digestive system is getting there and getting back to eating foods. Um and walking a little bit better and just moving slow, really. And I'm not stooped over so much, kind of like move like I'm walking up straight and in these last couple days. And so that's a big plus there. Now, when I went to the two follow-ups and they looked at the incision, and there were three people who looked at the incision, and all three of them said that there was a doctor and two nurses who looked, and all three of them said that I am mending just fine, which is awesome. And I do have another, the doctor wanted to see me in a week. So next Thursday, I go and see him again. And so, so that was great for me. I mean, I was a little worried that it wasn't, and my mom was too, because my mom is dressing my thing. She was a little worried. She's a little self-conscious of the fact that she's dressing my wound, but she got praise all the way around. And I even told her, I said, you watched, because the nurses there at the hospital, when I was laid up there, she had two nurses show her how to do it. And she's a quick learner. She's doing just fine. And when she was concerned about something, she called over there. So I don't know why she's so self-conscious. No, she's doing just fine. And the fact that she got praised today. So with her work, she doesn't want to do it. I don't blame her for not wanting to do it. I wouldn't want to do it either. No, this is one of those things that you really don't want to do. And I don't blame her at all. And I'm sure that she'll be glad when she doesn't have to. But I appreciate that she does it. I really do. And but so the fact that I'm mending just fine and everything, I got to take my first shower today instead of having to depend on sponge baths. I was getting really tired of the sponge baths, and I'm a very independent person, so and uh and the thing is also is that like it was almost 2 weeks of not shaving. So, and it was getting on my nerves. Because the thing is that when it comes to like my legs and everything, that's where my German heritage really kicks in. Because it will come in thick, and it was coming in very thick. I really wanted to shave. So when the doctor told me today, he was like, "Oh yeah, the bandages that you're using are waterproof. You could just go in and take a shower. It'll be no problem." And I'm like, "Yes." I cannot wait. I've been waiting for this moment. And that's all I needed to hear. Oh, good heavens. Yeah, it felt good. It felt really, really good to get in there and wash up. And you have no idea. Oh, good heavens. So, pretty much that is the update. Um, things are coming along just fine. I'm doing a lot better than I did with the last update. I mainly wanted to let you know what had happened. I had just come home. I was tired. I was just, yeah, that last update was basically just to let you know. But things are going a lot better. I mean, I'm improving. I'm hoping to get videos up and everything. I was hoping to, but basically just mending is more important. I'm sure you understand. Um, and I appreciate that. I really appreciate that a lot. And but anyway, thank you so much. I appreciate you, and I will close up here.